distractions, right? Okay. So we're on page 208. Talks pretty straight talk. I took a look just in the next 2 or 3 pages. V'omar. Right, he's talking about sincerity in tefillah and having kavana when you daven. It said, you know, the one of Hasidim said, "Bakashas kapara seinu zutzvicha levakesh kapara." That on this that we're asking for kapara, we have to ask kapara for that because the way we ask for forgiveness, we need forgiveness for that also. In case. They flattered him with their mouths, they lied to him with his tongues, their hearts were not honest with him. Now he says, if a person wakes up at this point, oh, like, wow, this makes sense, and wakes him up, he makes a cheshbon nefesh, and he said, and he says to himself, to the nefesh, how can I behave towards Hashem in a way that I would never behave to another person? And when I need them, I need a favor, I go over to someone. Or when they need a favor from me. If I go ask someone for a favor, and I would, say the words, I would ask him, believe me, but I'm thinking about something else. Now, of course, the person may not realize it. But if he would realize it, he would be disgusted with me. You're coming to ask me a favor and you're not even, you're thinking about something else. He certainly wouldn't give me what I want. That's so disrespectful. You're talking to me, look at me. Don't be busy with somebody else, right? Give me the attention. I mean, you want something from me. So he says, if that's true when you're talking to another person, yes, another person. So it's basically a kal v'chomer when you're talking to Hashem and you're busy with other things. Kal v'chomer. How much more so in Hayodeh ki b'shanim matri libi b'mashenim mefik v'tzayin. He says, and even more so, if the person would know, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I think he's talking about the person. We know that when I'm thinking, not only aren't I giving the person I'm talking to proper attention when I'm asking for something, but I'm also thinking about things that he would be upset about if you knew I was thinking about. Thinking bad about him, thinking about what, but something infuriating to him, yes, sin also, the animosity to me would be that much greater. And his refusal to do what he has would be even more fitting. Let's say he's thinking of Lashon Hara, sinas chinam, stubbornness. He's thinking badly about the other people in the shul. This man is a dope. This one is a balgaiva. He's not worth him any covet. So surely Hashem will not only not grant you what you're asking for, but he'll be extremely angry at you. This is what I would certainly do if someone asked me for a favor. See then, and if I would know, believe what Hashem knows what's going on in my heart. If I knew what that person had in his heart, I certainly wouldn't grant him what he wanted. Says Rav Miller, many times a person overhears conversations during the Chazoros Hashatz. People are whispering to each other, ridiculing other shul members. They were thinking these things while saying Shemona Esrei, and now they're talking it over among themselves. If these were their thoughts during Shemona Esrei, no benefit will come to them from that tefillah. Says Rav Miller, more than once I was shocked to see that while a man was saying Shemona Esrei, a friend came over and spoke to him. The first man nodded to his friend. He was listening. Here the neighbor was saying something good, but suppose he was saying Lashon Hara. What do you expect Hashem to do? To love the man for his tefillah? For people like that, it's better not to daven. So says the Chovos haLevavos, right? When you come to this realization, what does it mean that you're davening without kavanah? And on top of that, what are your thoughts? That are the not kavanah. It suddenly hits you there. What kind of davening is that? How can I not be ashamed to ask Hashem to accept my request? I wouldn't accept it from anyone else as weak as me. And which another weak person would not accept from me if he knew what was in my mind against him. They're not ashamed, nor do they know how to feel humiliated. When you deal with Hashem, you have to deal with him at least as you would with a human being. You'd be ashamed to talk to a human being when you're not thinking about what you're saying. It's especially true if you have a hostile attitude towards him and say, asking for favors. Let's say you need a favor from a guy and you really don't like him. And you went over to ask him a favor. If that person would know what you're thinking, that I really don't like that. I don't really like you, but I need your money. I need your favor, so I'm asking you for it. He would never do it for you. I mean, after you pick that. The truth is that the Talmud Devarim, on one of the midas of Hashem, maybe Erech HaPayim, he points out that Hashem has so much patience that at the very same time that we're using whatever Hashem granted us, he gave us eyes, let's say. And he told us, there's certain things I don't want you to look at. Right? Now, it's an incredible thing because at the same time that I'm going against Ritzayin Hashem, I'm looking at things I shouldn't look at. I need that Kosh Baruch Hu should continue to give me eyesight. It's not like Hashem gave me eyesight and now goodbye. In the morning we say Pokei Achirim. It means Hashem is constantly giving me eyesight. And he points out that that's the Erech HaPayim, that even when the Baal Avera is using the gift that Hashem gave him to go against Hashem's Ratzon, Hashem continues to give him that gift. So, that would seem to balance this out a little bit. Maybe Hashem does listen to our tefillos, even one where. But of course, what he's saying is 100% true anyways. So how could you expect Hashem to listen to your tefillos? As you know, he says, when this sinks in, when this idea sinks in, you said the other day, Brian, what's the answer? So what do I have to do? He's saying when this idea sinks in, it's going to change your whole perspective. Of course, you're going to have to, says Miller. Of course, although merely saying these words or hearing these words is worthwhile, that's not accomplishing the end yet. You have to think about it. You have to let it sink in and say, okay, so now I'm going to take steps. I'm going to take steps to work on my, not be distracted, work on my concentration, work on what I'm saying. There was a guy today in yeshiva, and I challenged him, but we didn't get to the challenge yet. He was telling me, how many still long in yeshiva? Yeshiva shouldn't take more than 13 minutes. From Yishtabach, from Baruch Hu until Shmones, it shouldn't be more than 4 minutes long. He had this all worked out, I said to him, that's not davening. I said, I'll challenge you. Let's open up a sitter. Let's open up a watch. And let me see you say, from Baruch Hu until Shmones in 4 minutes. I said, you're swallowing words. You're not even thinking about your words. You're skipping words. You're eating them. You're not saying every word. You can't read that quickly. And tomorrow I'm going to take him up on that challenge. I'm going to show him it's ridiculous. He thinks I'm crazy. Like 4 minutes. 4 minutes is plenty of time. But it's true. It happened today. I'm just good, right? When I look at these words and they sink into me, and so I say, so what am I doing? How can I be busy? I have a problem. And I got a little bit of a skama from a Chovos Friday Rav who downs with us because I heard him griping about the same issue. Like I'm afraid to have this issue. During davening, people come constantly and collecting money. Now, I have ADHD. They come collecting money during davening, collecting money. Now, I have ADHD. So I know, like when the guy comes over, my mind is away from the davening. Who's the guy? How much should I give him? Should I give him? Shouldn't I give him? The next guy, when is he going to come? It totally distracts me. And I'm not capable of thinking of two things at one time. So if I continue saying the words, certainly for that period of time, I said the words without any kavanah. On top of that, they've come up with this great fundraising thing where they print up these really, they get these graphic artists to build these papers they give out. That's really, the whole idea is that you should notice it, and it's dripping with how terrible the situation is, and there's a little write-up, and then you see people almost down picking it up and reading it, right? Because it distracts you, it calls your attention. The whole purpose of what they're doing is you should look at it. And they go around, they put it by every person. And sometimes I want to tell them, you have no right to do this. I understand you need the money, and I have a chmanis, but women are davening now. There's halachas that you can't have pictures on the front of the shul because it distracts you when you daven. I said, you're putting something in front of my sitter that you want me to read now because you're not sticking around. You're putting it around, then you're coming around to collect. So they have another thing where they come around like by Ein Kilo Keno, the Yoim Ein Kilo Keno, and they give a clap on the beam and they start talking about what they're collecting for. Now, the chazan doesn't stop davening. The shul doesn't stop davening. So you have these two things going on. If you listen to what's that?
They're competing with each other.
Now, if the chazan would stop, okay, you could listen, and I'll continue. But if I don't continue davening, I'm going to fall behind, right? So it's still going. The guy wants you to listen, but it's a little davening. It's a little davening. So what if he gave a clap on the beamer? So now what? So now no one's stopping it, and yet he's talking. And sometimes they're very good orators. They have it all dripping, and they're like, And I always felt bad because maybe I'm just have a little bit of a cruel streak in me, So lacking rachmanis. I mean, these people are people. They're not phonies. They really need the money. It's very sad situations. I'm not doubting at all the need for the stock and stuff.
I actually am the gabbai, and I shut it down.
There you go. Maybe you want to join my shul
until after the davening is completely done. They can interrupt the Mishnah, but nothing till after Aleinu.
Yeah, the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. I don't know how it is in your shul. If they went
to the direction of the Rav,
just after the tzibur was gone.
This is the Rav's instructions.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Rav Scheinberg said the same thing. Someone asked him about people collecting during davening, and he said he sends them out.
So I'm saying this old Friday Rav, he was like our best of the best in Yerushalayim this Friday, Rabbanut or something. He was so upset. He was like standing next to me talking to someone saying, "What is it? It's a chilul Hashem. What they're doing?" He was so upset. Why am I telling you this? I'm saying because it's hard enough to daven, you have these distractions coming. I'm not going to speak up because they're going to throw stones at me. I'm afraid they'll throw stones at me or something, They're going to shake it to you while they need money, and now some people will have a little bit of a system that they'll put like half shekel coins on the table, and people understand they could just take one as they go by. But I know that I get totally distracted. I get distracted. The guy's there. I see him, and I'm saying, especially when they put out all those papers. All right. In any case, there's the Chovos haLevavos that if you think about these lines, the Yitzhak will be defeated. You've taken such a large step, such a big step now, being aware of the issue. You made yourself aware of it. Like I'm saying, this Bacher was telling me he's not aware that davening like that's not a davening. You have to have kavanah. Even if he's going to show me he can read all those words in 4 minutes, I don't believe he can. right? First of all, he doesn't read as well as we read, like come on. But it's without absolutely any kavanah. He's just going to be trying to, zoom down the sitter. Once I realized that there's an issue of kavanah, there's an issue of how you speak, speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you're asking him things, and he says that already defeats the Yetzer Hara. He says, but yeah, Ramil says, but you have to think about it. It has to be part of your outlook on life. That Hashem knows what's in your mind, and therefore, Rav Miller takes a step back. The truth is, we need even more fundamental things. Many people really have no emunah in Hashem. They're only saying words. They're coming or they're showing up because it's the right thing to do. You have to love it. But do they really feel they're talking to somebody? Right? Is their emunah coming in and mom talking? It's really the same thing, because once you really believe that, and you're really going to talk to Hashem, or you're going to, do what you can. They really have no emunah Hashem. They're only saying words. You have to believe Hashem is right there. You have to believe that Hashem is looking at you, and He knows what your thoughts are. Then get busy and work on this. Just as you wouldn't listen to somebody who's requesting a favor absent-mindedly, don't expect this of Hashem. If you don't have emunah in Hashem's knowledge of your inner mind, all this talk is worthless. That's why haLevavos is like a building. Starts out with emunah in the Creator. You have to work on that emunah that Hashem is right there. The world demonstrates Shar B'china, the presence of a great design in every detail. When you study that, you eventually become convinced there's a Creator. You become so well fixed in your mind that's like a good concrete foundation on which you build. Once you have that foundation, you're able to think that Hashem understands what's in your mind. Then when you're starting to pray to Him, you think, how can I have an empty head with only my mouth speaking gibberish, making meaningless sounds? But when people have never worked on the idea of emunah, they can't have this thought because they are ashamed to think that Hashem is listening and understands their thoughts. So they're talking to a wall. They're talking to the sitter. Nobody's listening. They just think, if I go through this formality, if I say the words just like a charm, then good luck will come to me. That's all. But it's not because they really believe in Hashem. That's why you must make a foundation beforehand. Learn the preceding parts of haLevavos. He talks about the lessons that lead a person to recognize Hashem, becomes so convinced there's no question in his mind. Right? So these are the steps that we've been going through. We've been taking, hopefully. And it tries to distract us, tries to get us not concentrate. People will say, what do you mean? So I didn't daven? Here he's saying, yeah, you didn't daven. We talked about this yesterday. So should I daven Shemona Esrei over again? You can't daven Shemona Esrei over again. That's the halacha, because you must say do it again. That's what if I remember correctly, Mr. Burr says. There's a pretty good chance you're just davening again without kavanah. But on a very big level, on a real level, right? You're not davening. You're just saying words. You're reading a book. You could take out a lahavdil. You could take out a novel and just read. That's all you're doing. You're reading. So we believe the words, the they implanted these words. That these are words that have tremendous kedusha and tremendous power. But so I was saying, but if I'm thinking about something else, I'm not thinking about davening. I'm not thinking. Then, it doesn't work. So that's the third. I think it's the third 5, 3, 4. Things were, attack of the Yetzer Hara on us. And the answer to you, what it is, Brian, is in the way to fight it is become aware of how a lack of respect at the very least it is to you talking to Hashem and you're not there. The Mashkiach Rav Dan Segel, when it was Lag BaOmer a few years back, and so one of his vadim on Monday nights. It was Monday night. He says that the Sfarim say that a person really is where his mind is, even if you're physically here, but you're really where your mind is. He says, so if our mind's in Meron, we're there. We don't have to go there. Right? I'm just saying, when we're davening and our minds are somewhere else, so we're not here. Physically, someone hits you, you'll wake up and stuff. You're not here, you're somewhere else. You're not talking to Hashem. You're not davening. You're somewhere else. Your mouth is just rambling on. That's what he's saying. It's saying gibberish. You just you're not there. So when we become aware of this truth, the real truth, then we've taken a very big step in having kavanah. But like Ramon says, but then you have to work on it. And it's mostly a process. Not most probably, it's a process. Today's davening was better. Yes, it was a little worse, but I'm aware. I'm working on it. I'm trying to put. We had there was one kufa in our David after all of you guys, I think, where we had a tefillah vibe. We had a group of guys who wanted to work on tefillah. And once a week, we tried to go out of the yeshiva to somebody, like a yeshiva, a mashkiach, or someone, to give a 10, 15, 20-minute shmooze about davening, and then to give one idea, of how to make it feel better. So there was always a whole list. If I remember correctly, someone said, try to concentrate every time you say Hashem's name. Like it pulls you together. I know looking into the siddur for me is very, very important. Even I find that closing my eyes is not a good thing to do because it's an invitation for me to go somewhere else. I lose it. I guess that's when you have ADHD. You gotta look at the words, put your finger on the words, and follow it inside. Everybody has to know where they could. After a few tries, you start learning where your weaknesses are, what causes you to lose attention, and you work on that. Okay, the fourth enticement is avoiding flattery. Oh, okay, so this week will leave for tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah. Simcha, try to